was quite explicit when he said, unless there is a negotiated two-state solution, Israel risks becoming a binational state and losing the Jewish nature of the Jewish state. Prime Minister Netanyahu has very strongly come out this morning against that, albeit not outlining what he will do. Two questions to both of you. What do you think of Secretary Kerry's comments, and what does Israel need to do in order to avoid becoming a binational state? Peter.
So Kerry's comments were not actually very different than the warning that David Ben-Gurion gave after '67, not very different than the warnings that Ehud Olmert and Ehud Barak and other Israeli politicians have offered, right? If you permanently control the West Bank with millions of Palestinians who lack citizenship in the country in which they live, because they live under Israeli control, the IDF can go whenever it wants into any square inch of the West Bank. Israel controls the borders, it controls the airspace, it controls the telecommunications spectrum. There is only one army, only one state which controls the West Bank. It's the state of Israel. It subcontracts some of the things it doesn't want to do to the Palestinian Authority, but if it wants to arrest members of the Palestinian Authority, it can do so, it will. So the question is, you can give those people the right to vote and citizenship in Israel, which is what many anti-Zionists want. But then Israel is no longer a Jewish state. Or you can support the idea of a Palestinian state in which Palestinians have citizenship and the right to vote in a country of their own. And Israel becomes, again, a country that offers the right of citizenship to all the people in its domain and remains a Jewish state. Now, there are those who would say that the creation of a Palestinian state is impossible. That's a legitimate argument. We can have that argument. I, for the record, do not support a unilateral pullout of the IDF from the West Bank. I support a negotiated peace agreement along the lines that Mahmoud Abbas and Ehud Olmert were negotiating in 2007, 2008. And in fact, Olmert has said that Abbas was negotiating in good faith, and there was a difference between the positions they had. Olmert had an offer. Rabbi Boteach mentioned that. He didn't mention that Abbas had an offer as well. What I would say to people who are a little bit more hawkish than me, who don't believe in the possibility of a Palestinian state now, if you believe that a Palestinian state is the right outcome eventually, because you don't believe in permanently non-democratically controlling millions of people, and you don't want to give them the right to vote and end Israel as a Jewish state, you at least need to maintain the possibility of a Palestinian state one day. Even if you don't think it's possible now, maintain the possibility one day. And therefore, you should not support the massive subsidizing of settlements. Right? According to a study by Yediot Ahronot, an opposition newspaper, right? The average settler gets 70% more government money than does the average citizen of Israel inside the Green Line. The 5 most heavily subsidized municipalities in the state of Israel are all in the West Bank. I think that is very dangerous for the state of Israel because it makes the possibility of a viable, contiguous Palestinian state, which Israel needs for its own democratic survival, much, much harder. One last thing. It is not to say, Rabbi Boteach mentioned absolutely correctly, the biblical significance of places in the West Bank, like Shechem, Hebron, and Beit Lechem. Jews have the right to live in the West Bank. I think it's very important. But they don't have the right to live in the West Bank under a different law than their Palestinian neighbors.
It is a miracle. And you've got a lot of fans out there. That's nice. Secretary Kerry has made many statements lately that have left me scratching my head. Our organization, the World Values Network, took out a full-page ad in the New York Times, kind of asking, after he justified seemingly justified, the recent terror attack against Israelis over the past 2 months, saying that they were resulting from settlements. We were shocked. We took out a full-page ad to his credit, and by the way, he later went to Paris and spoke to the United States Embassy staff, and he seemed to justify the murder of the Charlie Hebdo journalists. He said that was kind of understandable because they were inciting people with their cartoons about the Prophet Muhammad, but this indiscriminate slaughter in concert halls, where did that come from? We got very upset about that, took out a full-page ad. To his credit, he reversed himself. He came to Israel, and he made an unconditional condemnation of terrorism. I would ask Peter to do the same. You have the opportunity to do exactly what Secretary Kerry did, and reverse yourself and say that you condemn terrorism unconditionally with no justification, because, my friends, no nation has ever suffered more with the Jews in Germany and Poland and Europe during the Holocaust, and they never blew up German buses or kindergartens. There is no justification. You cannot say, and by the way, that is the soft bigotry of low expectations. Our Arab, Muslim, Palestinian brothers and sisters are moral agents. They are endowed with free choice, just like us. We should not say they're simply reactionaries, that they have no choice but to react this way. That is not true. Islam is a great world religion. It has a moral code. It says that human life is of infinite value. There is no justification. And when it comes to Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, let's be clear. All polls show that were there to be an election tomorrow, if Israel were to withdraw, there would be a Hamas government. There would be no democracy there, Peter. Women would be subjected to honor killings. Mahmoud Abbas is bad enough. He's established a kleptocracy. He's accused by Yasser Arafat's former foreign minister of stealing more than $100 million, which makes him the little thief because Arafat stole $1.3 billion. But there's a kleptocracy in the Palestinian Authority. There is no democracy there. Newspaper editors are thrown into jail. There hasn't been an election he's in the 10th year of a 4-year term. I said that before. But Hamas would be infinitely worse, and it would invite rockets against Jerusalem, etc., etc. The settlements account for 7% of the West Bank. 7%. And the Prime Minister already said that he would support a two-state solution. You cannot negotiate with a Palestinian Authority that refuses to even come to the table. The Prime Minister said that he would have no prerequisites for negotiations. Abbas won't even sit down to talk. So, Peter, you're speaking to the wrong crowd. You're speaking to the wrong group. Israelis might have chosen that path a long time ago if it had not continually led to terror waves and the slaughter of so many Israeli civilians. But do you really want another Hamas state on Israel's eastern border? You know, the most wicked man, I'll conclude now, another miracle of Hanukkah. The most wicked man that ever lived, Hitler, was enjoined by his generals in the summer of 1939. When he told them that he was going to launch a Second World War, they said to him, do us just one thing. They were against the war. But his generals told him at Berchtesgaden in the Bavarian Alps, they said to him, whatever you do, don't do to us what the Kaiser did. Don't give us a two-front war. That's why the Kaiser lost the war. And Hitler, of course, couldn't control himself. In the summer of 1941, launches Operation Barbarossa, and his fate was sealed. Israel will struggle to survive a two-front war. And the idea of withdrawing from Judea and Samaria right now will bring a Hamas government, sworn to Israel's destruction with a genocidal charter for the annihilation, not just of Jews here in Israel, but even you and me, Peter, in New York, on your set in CNN. That's what their charter says, that they want to murder every Jew in the world.
I'm going to jump in here.